We readied for a short trip on a train from Philadelphia to New York. I laughed when I found the plush carrier for Bunny on the kitchen island, which had inside it a license for a therapy animal.
What?
Said Barnabas, looking offended.
Seemed only prudent.
No, I'm sorry, Harry. I'm not laughing at that. Only I was laughing because the therapy animal license is for you and not me. That is all. Sorry for laughing. It was just the wording.
Yes, well, that was purely for the paperwork involved. We didn't have your passport yet.
I nodded and suppressed my smile as Harry unpacked some boxes that had arrived in the mail. I noticed he had bought another shirt with little whales on it, but did not think it was wise to mention it. He seemed sensitive these days. As for me, the day after we spoke, when I went to sleep, the dream was still in principle relatively the same, but also inherently very different. The pain experienced was not as severe. It was hard to place, but it felt like the shark was bored with me. Giving in was actually easy. I started to notice different details of the dream this time, like the color of the water. Slowly, each time I slept, the dream started to change shape until one day, a white night, as they call it, I went to sleep and woke almost instantly, completely refreshed, like a reset button. Everything changed after that. Harry spent a lot of time in record shops buying everything he could remember Simon listening to from his collection. Occasionally I would see him take notes listening to the most ludicrous pop song, looking gravely out the window. Although I didn't mind all of it, he was gracious in listening to them at night when I was awake, but it didn't matter. I was okay again. The last golden leaves of fall were like the color of a trophy, encouraging us to the finish line, into the darkness of winter where some vampires thrive and others feel inadequate. There are spring vampires who prey on every budding flower. That is where they draw their power. There are summer vampires, beware the beaches, they lay in wait in coves like leeches. There are autumn vampires, the leaves of fall, blood red in flaming fangs, a secret call. But I am a winter vampire, of the ones who sleep below the frost, their immortal souls to keep. I have memorized few things throughout my time on this earth, but I chose to remember this little poem I found scribbled inside an old copy of Proust, if I don't mistake myself. I tore it out and had it with me for some years. Luckily, I did put it to memory. The author is unknown. I do not know if they were actually a vampire, no way to tell. All I remember of Proust is what a lover once told me, from his magnum opus. Vous avez une jolie âme, d'une qualité rare, une nature d'artiste. Ne la laissez pas manquer de ce qu'il lui faut. You have a beautiful soul of rare quality, the nature of an artist. Do not let it lack what it needs. More or less is the translation, though I did not do it justice. The band that Simon liked so much, the Strokes, were not on tour, so Harry seemed to be trying to recall what others Simon liked that might be touring around Europe, it would seem. Of course, we did not know what happened to Simon, but somehow we both agreed that he would have survived the bullet that shot him. It wasn't logical, but we both felt it somehow. Would he have re-entered into that cult-like organization? Perhaps, although I felt he was changed truly and did not take his ultimate betrayal kindly. As well, he was most likely searching to free his grandmother from the clutches of him. But after we had spoken, Harry had investigated the Anti-Aging Institute and found that that organization had suddenly folded, at least in the United States. Numerous locations had suddenly backed out of leases. Anything related to the Red Umbrella Society was being wiped from the continent, from the internet. Perhaps it was also intended to be closer to Balkis and Leona, but Harry felt inclined to go across the pond and seemed intuitively certain that Simon would be there as well. Perhaps this was the kind of connection a mentor and mentee could have, something I would never know. Despite all the pain felt there, it felt sad to leave yet another temporary home. Bunny, Agatha seemed to really enjoy the place. If this was my sister, in her rabbit form, she was the happiest I had ever seen her. Harry, too, although my memory of who Harry actually was back in the day was now being almost erased by this new presence, our new relationship. We had somehow, despite our most stubborn natures, become somewhat different people. It is embarrassing to think, but that time where we were instigators of actual gigantic revolutions, we may have been more immature than we could properly assess, more inflexible in our beliefs than was actually provident. We thought that humanity had an arrival point, instead of realizing we were simply a being that eternally folded into ourselves. The key, I think, and Harry was teaching me this somehow, was to do it with kindness. I am not an unkind person, but have a certain way of withdrawing. If I were to be unkind with myself, I would call it cowardice. But I think it is in its way not unbrave, but regardless, it shuts out the possibility of being there to help others. I see Agatha now, see her in her bunny form, and can't help to see her for her more true self, as one who desperately wants my help, but who desperately cannot ask for it. And I, convinced, surely from our youth, that we are somehow two sides of the same coin, that she is the capable, the willing, the strong, and I am somehow the opposite, and that my art is indicative of that truth. But there is nothing weak in art. The absence in those who cannot conceive of it is like that which I experience in Harry's shadow. It is a lack, and I simply depend on him to help me through difficult circumstances. So, with art, with any ability, so do we have something that can bridge the gap, that of, what? Dreams, perhaps, or the terror that invades us all in different ways, the void and the anxiety that fritters away our willingness to look around that next corner. There is nothing like a train ride through the autumn leaves. As I sit there on the train, gently rocked, I realize that for the first time, I am not thinking of where I am going, nor where I've been, but I'm constantly reminding myself in every moment, I'm here now. I'm here now, until I am one with the blur of the fallen leaves, in its decadence of decay. I should probably write that last line down. Lately, I've been writing more than I have been doing art.